Just computers.
Okay. Yeah.
The
It's
website.
offline. Probably YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, those count. Did you want me to go ahead? Yep, you started. Okay, cool. Hi, thanks guys. Sorry we're late, but we blame that on Raising Cane's. I hope you enjoy the food, but yes, I recognize some of you in here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stephanie Shelton. I'm a senior technical writer at National Instruments, and this is Allie Hudson. I'll give you a little bit more of my background, and I'll let Allie talk about her background as well. But so I'm a Texas Tech alum, proud Red Raider. I graduated in 2011 with a major in public relations and a minor in tech comm and business. So I guess I'm a testament to you don't have to be a tech comm major to end up being a tech writer, but it was my tech comm background with my minor and certainly the courses I took at Tech that got me to where I am today, so I'm super appreciative of that. But I was actually sitting in a class, in one of my tech writing classes back in 2010, and a person just like myself, a tech writer, and I came and recruited. I had an interview that week, went on site for a full round of interviews that November. I had my job offer in hand around Thanksgiving, and the rest is history, and I've been at NI for 5.5 years. And I've loved every minute. That's a brief history.
So I did not go to Tech, which does not go over well usually when we do this presentation. But I graduated from North Texas with a degree in English Lit and a degree in Tech Comm. I was also recruited on campus by writers from National Instruments, but I went through the intern program that we have, which is like basically a 3-month interview process where you get a real project, and then at the end of your internship, you know if you have a job or not. Now I've been in NI for like 2 years, and it's been great.
So that's a little bit about us, and today we're going to talk to you about what it's like being a tech writer at NI, what our jobs look like, and what you can expect if you come on at NI. And then we will talk about our 2 positions that we're hiring for, the reason why we're here. So.
Yeah, and we have these 2, so if you're interested in either, you can grab a tear off, and it has a little bit of information for you to take with you if you decide you want to apply online.
And I'll talk more at the end about how to apply in detail. Yeah. So if you don't know much about National Instruments, basically we make computer hardware and software for scientists and engineers in the test and measurement industry. It rolls off the tongue really well. But basically you're not going to really find our products at Best Buy or Walmart, because our products are used kind of behind the scenes to make other products work better. So our products test other products, like an Xbox, we test the components in a cell phone, just for examples. So we're kind of working behind the scenes to make sure other companies' products are working correctly. And so because of that, we have kind of a stakeholder in a variety of fields, as you can see on the screen. So it's really good for our company, because if one industry is kind of down, another one's up. And so it's really good. It makes for a stable place to work, because you're always going to basically, someone's going to be in need of our products in one industry or another. This is popping up on the screen because I wanted to give a few examples, because the high-tech industry can be confusing and it's hard to explain to your parents what you do, but basically a couple basic examples is we actually have a LabVIEW Mindstorms program where engineers and even tech writers at NI can go and use more of our, this is more of our K through 12 product line. We basically provide more basic LabVIEW software. LabVIEW is our flagship product, and our engineers actually go into the classrooms and help teach, starting at the elementary level, how to program, and what's it like to use an API to make something function, and getting that started early on so that they can grow their curiosity and really get informed about the science and the opportunities in science, especially for women, and that's really exciting. That's actually a program you can get involved in at NI as a tech writer or an engineer. And then another more industry example I like to tell is we actually have a partnership with Shiner Brewery, so if you like Shiner Bock, they actually use our hardware and software to make sure that the labels are in the right placement on the beer bottles, and then also that the caps are screwed on to a certain tightness. So I can give you more of a fun example of how you can use some of our products.
Cool. So just a little bit about what we do as tech writers at NI. Obviously, our primary goal is to be a user advocate. So we're making sure that users get a really good out-of-the-box or downloaded experience where they can open up the software, they can open up the hardware and get right into it, even if they have very basic level knowledge or smaller of what they're actually going to do with that piece of hardware or software. We do this by building concepts, tutorials, and reference materials into whatever kind of help we're sending out with that product. So it might be a getting started guide or example code or programs that they can use to build off of, or troubleshooting information so that they don't have to call in or email in or get on the forums, and so that they can really get what they need to do as quickly as they need to do it, and at the end of the day go home at 5 o'clock, which is what we all want to do. We work in a really collaborative environment, so we do a lot of teamwork at NI. Our teams vary in size a little bit, but it's good because you always have a tech writer to bounce off of, you have an engineer to bounce off of, and it's good for feedback. It's good for making sure that everything's sane and usable and very friendly to the user.
So what do we do? She kind of touched on this a little bit. Obviously our number one is we're going to write and edit content, right? And so a lot of people ask, well, how much writing do you really do? Because being at NI, it's very high tech. We're not engineers, and so I only have so much knowledge about the products, right? And so that's where I almost act as a journalist sometimes, and I can just sit down with my developer and ask them questions. How does this feature work? Tell me more about this feature. What's the customer going to use it for? So I'm kind of diving into the product that way, and with my engineers to find out more information, what really is going to be useful for the user to know, because we don't want to just throw information at them. We want to provide them the information that they need to know, so that they don't have to decide what's actually useful and read through a bunch of other stuff that isn't relevant. But besides the obvious, which is writing and editing, we also get to, as a tech writer, we get to own, we place a lot of ownership on, we give a lot of tech writers ownership of their products. So that means they get to kind of be the architect of the documentation set. So what's that going to look like for this new product? And we can kind of own and shape how we think that needs to be for the customer. So deciding, do we need a getting started guide or deliver information of how they can get started fastest with the product? Or do we need more advanced content that maybe would go into a help system? Do we need a specifications document? What types of documents do we need to meet their needs to be able to use the product? Outside of that, also along with that is basically you have to be well organized and be able to define a doc plan for your product and a timeline and a schedule that kind of corresponds with the development cycle as well, which Allie will talk about in a minute. But outside of the main tech writer tasks, we also have the opportunity to contribute to non-project activities. So what we call extracurriculars. So this would be an extracurricular, recruiting, going on campus and recruiting. This isn't like tech writing, but it's a benefit of being a tech writer at NI. We have these opportunities to go out and get involved in other things. We have our own in-house style guide at NI, and we have a whole committee of tech writers that own that style guide, improve it, and we revise it once a year, and so that's another extracurricular you could be on. We have an annual NI Tech Writer Conference, and you can be on a committee to kind of plan that conference, be on the refreshments committee and plan out what we're going to provide, just the other things that are fun to do kind of outside of the typical writing and editing. Another part of the job is we get to perform kind of unofficial usability testing or informal usability testing. So it's not going to be what you might have experienced here in like a formal lab. It's more like, oh, here's a build of the latest software. I'm going to install it and see what it looks like. What's the user experience with these buttons? What are the label of these buttons in the software? Does it make sense? And I can provide feedback informally to my developers. And then we get to manage projects and deadlines. It's kind of corresponding with like the doc plan. What's the timeline on this project? When do I need to be done? When do I need to have the final documentation checked in and done? so that we're not holding up the final delivery of the product overall.
Besides a little bit about what we do to train our new writers, because I know that I didn't have a lot of experience in high tech when I started writing at NI, and it was a scary process. But that's actually how a lot of our writers start out, just with really strong writing and editing skills and an interest in technology and the willingness to learn and grow and approach the learning curve with a little bit of speed and excitement. So the onboarding process is very finely tuned. There are a lot of resources for you when you come on. You have a mentor that walks you through things so that you can talk to your mentor one-on-one and have a little bit better learning relationship with them, where you might be a little more hesitant to talk to your supervisor or your manager. You can go to your mentor and ask questions. We also have a lot of learning tools that are more formal, NI-wide, that come in the form of like videos and classes that you take on campus. We have the opportunity to sit in the back of customer education classes for whatever software you're in, which is pretty cool because you get to go in and see the engineers coming to the class and learning how to use the product or the software. You get to see what kind of questions they ask, how they use it in the real world. So you get to feel a little bit more connected to what they actually do with what you're writing about. We also have a huge internal wiki where everything for the past forever, as long as I know, has been documented. So you can see why we do things the way that we do, how to get through them on your own, and then of course, if you can't get through it on your own, you can ask questions to your mentor.
So we do face a lot of challenges as tech writers, and you might have been, so I hope you've been introduced to maybe some of these challenges here at Tech, but one thing we have to keep in mind is, in this day and time, expectations are constantly changing. Technology is constantly changing, and so with the documentation we provide, we have to be at the cutting edge, and we have to stay on scope with that. And so part of that is understanding and figuring out what's the best medium to present information. The way to present information now versus what it was 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, is drastically different. Basically now people are expecting that nothing's printed. They don't expect to get hard copies, everything soft copy or online. Now there's a huge push for mobile documentation or things on a tablet, making documentation deliverable in that medium. So it's very different. And then even the way we provide like help, for example, we still do to some extent, deliver like CHM content versus just online help. So if you've ever gone to like Adobe or Microsoft's help, everything's kind of online. There's not a contained help anymore in some kind of window. And also, we want to make sure that whatever meeting we decide, can they access it efficiently, and does it make sense, and can they access it quick? Also, the complexity of our products at NI are changing. So more and more products are moving to more of a system-level platform experience more than just individual products. A lot of our products now work together, and so our customers are not just buying one product, they're buying multiple products to work as a system. And so that introduces some challenges with how we deliver documentation. We can't just function with this writer on the second floor writing for this product and this writer on the seventh floor writing for this product. We have to work together so that we're delivering a cohesive, consistent documentation experience, because our customers don't care that Sally on floor A wrote this and Billy wrote something else. They don't care, and that's not relevant to them. So we have to make sure that we're not siloing ourselves and that we're providing a system-level documentation experience. Another thing you have to consider at NI is we actually do localize or translate our documentation into other languages. This is dependent on what product team you're working on, dependent on business needs. So on the team I work for, we actually do not translate any of our documentation. We used to translate stuff into Japanese. I'm not doing that. I don't speak Japanese. We have a localization team that does that. But it was decided that we no longer have enough customer base in Japan who's buying the products that my product produces, my team produces. So we're no longer delivering Japanese documentation, which is great because it actually is less work on me. I don't have to work with the translators anymore. But other teams do localize into several languages sometimes, and so it's just another added thing to remember as a tech writer when you're writing. And then another thing, I won't talk too much about this, I think we have in the past, but single sourcing is a huge deal in the tech writing world. This is mostly more convenient for the writers, not necessarily for the customers, but basically we're now single sourcing things using DITA XML so that we can have one source that delivers multiple types of outputs. And so we're not using FrameMaker for this document and then another source for this document, even though it's saying the same thing. We can have one consistent language that outputs multiple different deliverables. I can talk more of that if you have questions. But, so a lot of challenges we face, but it's super exciting. I mean, as a tech writer, these should make you like excited to kind of dig into and solve, and you'll definitely have that opportunity at NI.
A little bit about our development cycle as tech writers. We start with a product kickoff, and that's a meeting where we sit in with our developers. They talk about the goals for their product. If it's a newer release of a product, they'll talk about the things that they are fixing for this release, which usually come from things that we call TSIs or top support issues, which are what people call in and complain about and report. So we talk about how we're going to make it better. We also start to evaluate the product requirements, write a doc plan for it. What do we need? How do we need it? When does it need to get done? After that happens, we start writing and revising. A few different revision processes usually. It'll go through you and then go through another technical writer, go through your lead engineer, and then spiral up until it gets signed off and complete. And then we will write new feature documentation if we need to. That'll help happen before the revision, and then we prepare those deliverables.
So common tech writing tools, this constantly changes, but for creating and editing documentation, we do use Dreamweaver. It depends, so we still write in HTML, depending on the deliverable, but most of our documentation is sourced in XML, and so primarily we use XML for XML. For our HTML, we can use Dreamweaver, sometimes, but usually just for like bug fixing bugs.
Yeah, if I have a function reference, that's okay.
FrameMaker, we rarely use that now. Like I said, we've tried to transition everything into DITA XML and single sourcing, so usually that's just used now for legacy documentation. Managing content, we have a DITA content management system, and we use Perforce as our secondary content management system for storing content and then looking at versioning of content. So if somebody submitted the same document multiple times, you can kind of diff within these programs to see what changes were made, and it's just a version tracker basically. And then, yeah, obviously I won't go through the list, but there's a bunch of various other tools. We have a lot of tools that check things and validate things for us, like our tagging. We do use Adobe Illustrator now and then. So we have a document production team, and part of that team includes technical artists. So thankfully, I do not have to create the graphics. I send the graphics I need as a work request to the technical artist, and they create that for me. And so thankfully works. We don't have degrees in art, right? So, so that's nice. But yeah, so I do, if I need something to tweak something real quick, I can open up Illustrator and do that myself, but that's not required. And then we have an internal tool that helps us track issues. So she mentioned like top support issues. That's actually that's another thing we track as tech writers, but usually that's top support issues that have come in because of customer complaints or issues. Internally, we have a database that we can file, basically they're called corrective action requests to each other, to other tech writers, to engineers, saying, hey, I noticed this is wrong in this document, can you fix this? And we can say, this is the version of the document that the issue is in, and here's when I would like you to fix it. So it's kind of a way, instead of tracking things through email, which is not efficient, we have a separate tool that tracks issues and when they need to be fixed.
I also want to mention that we use Rally as a scheduling tool with our development teams, which is just a way to track all the tasks that you might have for a certain release and update your team as you move along. So Rally has different boxes, and you can move your tasks from I haven't started this yet to I'm right here, which really helps if you're meeting with your development team and you can say, I have this task that I started on, but I have a roadblock. Here's how I need to overcome that roadblock to move it all the way over to the complete zone. So Rally's really cool that way.
Not all teams use that, but a lot of teams are onboarding to using that. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this slide, because I remember seeing this slide and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything on here. I'm not going to get hired. Don't think that. We don't expect you to come on with any knowledge of the tools that we use. I just like to give this information as just a nice to know. But don't get overwhelmed by this. We fully expect to train you on what you're going to need to be successful. So, yes, and we do use a lot of tools, definitely. We use a lot of software to do our job, but you're going to get the training. And also, teams use different tools, so it also depends on what group you're in, too.
Cool, so here's a little bit of what NI documentation looks like. Wow!
So she mentioned before we have different deliverables. So some things are printed. We don't do a lot of printing anymore. Most stuff is online, either as online help or PDFs that are posted online. And next time we promise we'll get updated screenshots for you because these are a little outdated. But
yeah, if you want to see more, ni.com/manuals has all of the most recent manual applications.
So, kind of talked about what it's like to be a typewriter. Now, what's it like to be at NI? It's awesome. And I'm not just saying that. They do pay me to do it, I guess. But I really believe it. I really do believe that I wouldn't have stayed here this long if I don't believe it. And so, we also, that's also supported by, we've had numerous awards over the years. Fortune 100 top places to work. We've been on that list like 15 years in a row. Multinational Workplace Award. And these are all things that they just don't say, oh yeah, NI sounds good. Our employees take a survey and get that feedback provided back to these third-party vendors, and they collect that data and compare it with our competitors. So it's definitely legitimate, and it's wonderful. There's so many benefits to work at NI. We talk about this a lot, but there's excellent competitive salary and benefits, but benefits really are excellent. That's not usually something that students care about, but out in the real world, it really is important. And we have really awesome, just other things that NI values. Like they value our employees, and so because of that, they do things like donations. They'll match up to $1,000, dollar to dollar, for any place that you want to donate to. They have employee appreciation weeks where they'll just bring in experts on like buying a home, buying your first car, and just for fun, like non-work related stuff, give you more information on how to be successful at those things. We have like Health Week where they like have cool places around Austin come in with like healthy foods. We have deck parties, of course, where we bring out the kegs and the DJ and free food, and it's so much fun.
There's also 2 sand volleyball courts on
Yes.
campus, 2 newly finished basketball courts.
Yeah.
There's a health center on campus and a gym on campus
Yeah.
with classes that run through the day, so you don't have to sit
Yeah.
here and just
Yeah.
go out and shoot hoops or whatever.
And it's beautiful there. It's a 50-acre campus, three main buildings, and we're currently doing a huge renovation of our outdoor area to be awesome. It's going to be, I don't even know like what all they're doing.
They're redoing the deck. They're adding some like weird oasis
Yeah, it's
situation.
Gonna be, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna look like Google, but it'll be pretty cool.
The point is, they're making improvements, which is good. We're not staying stagnant. It's just a great place to work. And then I think she mentioned like we have an on-site doctor, on-site clinic that you literally just pay $10 to go and see an actual doctor. I think we have 4 or 5 at that facility, and then you can get your prescription $10 later. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Cool. Right now, the company's doing a really awesome wear your Halloween costume to work.
Oh yeah, the Halloween costume.
Oh, and then you can
contest
bring your
if you're
kids
into
in,
that.
and
Yeah.
they provide the employees candy, and the employees give out candy to the kids. So it's just kind of
Cool. So this slide is basically saying that you don't have to be a tech comm major to apply to work at NI. Obviously, Stephanie's an example of that, but this is a big word chart of some of the majors that we have as tech writers currently right now at NI. It obviously is super important that you have strong writing and editing skills and interest in technology, but above and beyond that, maybe you're an art history major that really likes computers. I don't know.
So how do you get the job? Basically, we've already kind of touched on this. We expect you to have excellent writing skills. We expect you to be an excellent proofreader and editor. We expect you to show attention to detail, and I emphasize that because, as we'll talk about in a minute, we view your writing samples of your application as professional writing samples, and so when you're applying for a writing job, please proofread your stuff that you send us and make that your best work because that's a reflection of you, and so attention to detail is crucial. Also, like we said before, does technology excite you? Be able to speak to this if we were to ask you. And also, if you have a familiarity with tech comm concepts and tools, if you don't, totally fine. And then knowledge about the company is crucial. We like to know that if you're applying to work here, you might know something about. We don't expect you to know a lot, but just that tells us that you have an interest in the company, that you've maybe done a little research, and you can speak to what we do at least a little bit, and then of course you learn more as you come on site.
We don't make calculators.
Yeah.
So that's not very good.
We're not Texas insurance.
It happens.
Yeah.
Here are some required and preferred skills that we look for in our applications. Writing and editing skills, ability to ask questions, being excited to learn new things, because the learning curve is pretty steep. We like if you've had a little bit of exposure to HTML, Java, XML, stuff like that. Maybe you've also had some exposure to programming language. Not required, but maybe a little bit interesting if you've played around in C# or something.
Yeah. We're not programmers. We've been exposed, I believe, I guess I can't speak for you. We've been exposed to it, but we know very little, so we don't expect you guys to come in with a lot of knowledge. It's just, again, if you have that experience, it's just a bonus. It'll make your life easier when you come on. But Ed and I, even as a tech writer, we don't need to know programming, mostly just markup languages, obviously HTML, XML, you're going to be using a lot, at least at NI. So, interested in interviewing? So basically, the way that everybody can get to an interview is by applying to ni.com/careers. So what I need to talk about is the two positions. So we have a full-time position. We usually always have that. We recruit for that year-round. It's an entry-level tech writer full-time position, and then we have our summer internship for 2017. And so I can speak to both of those. I don't know, is there a specific interest in, I'm assuming, more full-time? Or anybody interested in the internship? Oh, okay. Cool. So basically, the main thing to know about being eligible for the internship is you have to be a current student in good standing. So oftentimes people ask me, if you're graduating with your bachelor's but you plan on getting your master's, that's fine. You can still do the internship that summer between, but you have to give us proof that you have been accepted and are going to be attending in the fall a master's program. If not, you won't be eligible for the summer internship. If you're getting your bachelor's or your master's though, and you're in the summer, that you're eligible. There's a lot of perks for the internship. I can't stress that enough. It's a 12-week internship at NI headquarters in Austin. We pay you hourly. It is a full-time, so it'll be 40 hours a week, and we won't let you go over 40 hours. So it'll be hourly compensation. You'll get a housing stipend, or if you know somebody and you want to live with them, like parents or friends, or if you don't know anybody, we'll put you up in corporate housing. It's actually really nice. It's fully furnished. It's housing apartments usually real close to NI. You can almost walk there. And then we will also pay you to come to Austin for the summer, so a relocation stipend. And then if you want to take it for course credit as well, we'll pay you the hourly and we'll reimburse you for the course credit. So that's just a ton of dollar signs. So it's a really, really good experience for interns. Then we do a lot of fun programming, events, programs and events, that kind of during the summer and with other interns. And you'll also room with other interns if you do the corporate housing. It's a really good opportunity. You have an actual legitimate project to work on that you can add to your portfolio. And it's just a really good experience. The full-time position, also good. Basically, I think we've already talked about all the requirements for that. I guess other things we haven't talked about too, we also provide a relocation stipend, especially if you're moving from Lubbock. That's really nice. I took advantage of that. That was great. We do offer career advancement opportunities. So to give you an idea, in 5.5 years, I've started as entry, moved to staff tech writer, and now I'm a senior tech writer. So that's kind of a testament to that. Tuition assistance, if you're interested in pursuing higher education while you have your full-time job, we can assist with that if it's related. It's a related program. So usually, if you're getting your master's in tech comm, I can speak more about that if there's an interest. But yeah, so there's a lot of benefits all around. We are holding interviews tomorrow for both of these positions. The deadline to apply for an interview has passed, but we do have a few spots available, so if you're interested and you want to apply tonight, you can. I wouldn't, you're welcome to do that, but we do come every semester, so we will be back in the spring, so if you're not graduating till May, it's fine to wait to apply and then interview with us in the spring, unless you're graduating in December and you can interview now. And then obviously the online application consists of filling out the application, a resume, cover letter, and then 2 to 3 writing samples. From what you've done in class is totally fine, but we do require at least 1 tech writing sample. So an instructional, task-based, how-to type procedure is what we're looking for, a technical writing procedure. So if you don't have something like this, we would like for you to create one. And if you're worried about this at all, just ask.
Yeah, if you would like to know more or would like to know what it's actually like day to day as a tech writer at National Instruments, there's a website. It's awesome.wecommolife.net. It has profiles of like 5 different writers who work on different teams and kind of says what they like about Austin, what they like about NI, why they think that their product group is really cool. I like that website a lot.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Again, examples of our docs, ni.com/manuals, and then ni.com/company for more information about us just in general.
Now's your time to ask us questions. I do have business cards. Any questions at all? We covered a lot, so.
Yeah.
What time is the interview slots, or are the interview slots that you have open for tomorrow?
I have to get back to you. I have to look in my folder. We have a few. I think we have some in the morning and one in the afternoon.
So there's options.
Yeah,
Before and after lunch.
So is the interview more like for position and internship?
you can. So yeah, let me clarify that. So basically, to get an interview tomorrow, you have to apply online at ni.com/careers, and it doesn't guarantee you an interview. So we will be screening the applications, and if you meet the standards for an interview, we will go ahead and contact you probably tonight and schedule that for tomorrow. And you need to apply for a specific position, so either the full-time or the internship. There's 2 different rec numbers, and so if you actually took a slip on that, actually, let me go back. That's the other slide. So if you go to ni.com/careers and search for, I think there's a search for jobs button, you can either search by the requisition number, so this would be the number you put in for full-time, or this would be the number for internship. So usually you just apply for one or the other. But,
Both interviews are behavioral-based questions, so if you were prepping for the interview, you would want to think about specific examples